Danny Kruger.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My thanks to the Honourable Lady for bringing the debate and to members who have spoken. I also want to pay tribute to two members who are not with us today, the Honourable Member for Hayes and Harlington, who I've worked with on this topic, and also the Honourable Member for Don Valley, who has valiantly led a campaign to recognise men's mental health and the need for a strategy in that space. So we have very much a cross-party agenda on this. I'm pleased to work with those colleagues from the red wall, from the deep red flag of the hard left, and from the deep orange of the Honourable Lady. And this is a totally not cross-party issue, as we've heard, because the fact is this condition affects all of our constituents from all of our constituencies. It affects people of all ages and, of course, from people of both sexes. I recognise and agree with the points that have been made about unhelpful stereotypes. Some stereotypes are, of course, helpful in the sense that they point to a general truth, of which there'll be many exceptions. I spent most of my career before Parliament working in prisons, where there is a very clear difference between how the two sexes express the distress that is caused by incarceration. Men tend to externalise their distress through fighting and violence against others. Women internalise their distress through self-harm. Those are generalisations. There are many women who fight and men who self-harm, but these generalisations do have some validity, and I think it's relevant to consider how we approach this particular mental condition and recognising that there are different ways in which men and women, girls and boys, express distress and mental health condition. But the fact is that the outworking of eating disorders is in many ways the same. It's extreme ill health, enormous distress to the sufferer and to their patient. And I recognise the point made by my honourable friend here about the distress experienced by the staff who are working in eating disorder clinics. It's a very, very distressing condition. And as we've heard, a quarter of eating disorder sufferers are men and boys. The sources are complex, and I'm not being an expert. I don't want to stray too far into this, but I think it's worth acknowledging. It seems to be generally agreed that the source of eating disorders, and anorexia nervosa in particular, is about the need for control. There is, of course, a perfectly healthy desire to be fit and healthy. It's in a sense appropriate that people want to control their appetites. We need to be in charge, not our appetites. But what we see here is when that healthy desire to manage one's health and one's fitness and one's food intake or one's exercise regime spills over into a different sort of a control which itself becomes controlling, and we become slave to a different sort of appetite. So I want to speak up for the men who come forward and identify themselves as suffering from eating disorders. It's a very, very brave thing to do. The other stereotype which we've heard discussed, which is entirely true as well, is that not enough men talk about mental health and their own mental health conditions. And as we've heard, a fifth of male eating disorder sufferers have never spoken about their condition to anybody. So we do need to raise awareness, and I pay tribute to Beat, to Hope Virgo, and to other campaigners for their commitment this Eating Disorder Awareness Week to the cause of men's mental health and eating disorder in men. Of course, we know that the result of not coming forward early is that diagnosis comes later, and therefore the treatment is so much harder. It's also very disappointing to read in the research that the majority of men who do receive treatment for eating disorders or ask for help are disappointed with the service that they receive. I dare say it's the same for women, but there is obviously a fault in our provision of services. So what to do? And I endorse the points that have been made about the need to raise general public awareness, and that's the purpose of this debate as much as anything. People need to be able to recognise the signs and symptoms in their loved ones, in their friends, their school friends, in their students, and in their colleagues. We need more training of doctors, particularly GPs, to recognise the symptoms and to provide signposts to good treatment. We need more services before hospital, as the Honourable Lady said. More acute services. I pay tribute to the Cotswold unit at the Savernake Hospital in my constituency, which is a tremendous inpatient unit, under-resourced, in practice because there are not enough beds, as the Honourable Lady said. And crucially, and I'll end with this point, we need more support for what's called step-down services. It's not enough just to get somebody back to to the appropriate weight. It can take months and months for people to be healthy again and to be, as it were, able to be free of treatment. So we can't just say you get the acute service and then you're acute treatment, you're back to health, and you're free. We need to support people for many months more, and we need more provision in the community for that step-down service. Thank you.